Hey, I'm Markia. Want to hear something scary?
The creepy crawling intrusion. My dad's job as a health inspector means we have to relocate a lot as he gets contracted to different cities across the country. Making friends at a new high school is always rough, but this time seemed to be different. Border High should have been called Boring High. It's so dull. The buildings are dingy, the classrooms small, and the students bland. Something is slightly off about everyone there. No standout personalities, and even the teachers all look the same, worn out and gray. Weirdly, in every class I attended, there were cockroaches scurrying across the floor and creeping out of the cracks in the walls. I even saw one on someone's desk, and they didn't even flinch. It was gross. Maybe my dad should have been inspecting the school rather than the local cereal plant. Then at lunch, I met Uma. Everything about her was vibrant, from her hair to her bright, eye-catching clothing. She's also new to school like me. Finally, someone with a sense of humor and some style. She isn't bland like everyone else. At least, she wasn't then. We compared schedules and found we had the exact same afternoon classes. We instantly bonded and hung out all weekend. I was super glad to have a new friend, especially since Dad always seemed really stressed at work, the job proving far more complicated than he had first imagined. I waved when I saw Uma in the halls Monday morning, but she seemed different, sluggish. Her usual rainbow tie-dye style had faded, and she appeared dull and gray, like old dishwater. I looked for her at lunch, but she wasn't there, nor was she in any of our afternoon classes. When I asked a teacher, they gave me some cryptic reply that Uma was just fine, not to worry, and that soon I would understand. What the heck did that mean? I went to bed that night, still concerned that something had happened to her. She hadn't replied to any of my texts. After tossing and turning for hours, I was startled by a tapping sound. I sat up as my bedroom door creaked open. It was Uma, somehow in my house. Uma crawled in, all jerking and twitching as she moved. I watched, paralyzed with fear, as she crawled up the wall like a spider and peered down at me from the ceiling. She was struggling to speak, her lips pursed closed. She moaned, and then finally, her lips tore apart and hundreds of cockroaches poured out. They fell directly onto me, covering every inch of my body and the bed. I could feel them burrowing around my mouth and nose, trying to get in. Then, as quickly as she'd appeared, Uma was pulled out of the room, the door slamming shut behind her. I jumped up, arms flailing, desperately trying to get the bugs off of me. I could feel them crawling around my neck and chest. I wailed, and then suddenly, I felt a shift in the room. I bolted upright, still in bed, and opened my eyes. Nothing. I leapt out of the twisted sheets, patting myself. There were no cockroaches. I opened the door to the hallway, and there was nothing. It must have been a nightmare. My breathing began to return to normal, but it had been a traumatic experience. The next morning, I felt exhausted, and my head ached. I felt sluggish walking to school, not like the flu, but more like fatigue. The closer I got to the building, the worse I felt. During the first period, I looked down at my hands, and they seemed to have lost their color, faded the same way Uma's had. I realized I was blending in, starting to look like everyone else all around me. Somehow, just like them, I was fading, losing my sense of self. There was a scratching in my throat, like when you swallow a potato chip you didn't chew enough. I started coughing, choking, until something came loose, and there it was in front of me, in a pool of spittle, a cockroach. I stifled a scream. not sure if I was more repulsed by the critter or confused as to what was happening. I felt my cell vibrate in my pocket. It was a text from my dad, the man who barely knew how to use his phone, so it must be important. Come home now. The plant has been shut down. It's infested. The bugs aren't normal. We need to leave immediately. I focused as best I could. My vision was blurry. They aren't normal. There was something wrong with the roaches. I would learn later my dad had found high levels of an unknown substance in the cereal caused by the bug infestation. And before he knew it, specialist government agents had turned up and put the plant on lockdown. He was allowed to leave, but the other workers were quarantined. He overheard one of the agents muttering about Area 51. The roaches in our school had come from the plant, my dad's plant, brought in with the food supply. They had infested the school. They had contaminated the students and faculty, including Uma, and now they had invaded me and turned my world to gray. I desperately wanted to get up, to leave, but I can't. I just don't have the energy. Besides, now I am one of them, destined to always be part of this dull, boring, and colorless existence, part of the intrusion. But soon you'll understand. We are just the start. That plant delivers cereal the world over. The agents can't stop us all.